Hey, what's going on, guys? So today, I'm here to talk about one of my rifle builds. This is a Beretta ARX100. You might be asking yourself why I decided to buy an ARX100. The reason is, well, okay, first of all, if you have to explain the reasonings of why you bought a rifle, it's probably already going to be an uphill battle. I know that this gun is not super popular, and I guess that's one of the big reasons why I bought it. I wanted something that was different. I have a lot of ARs, and so I didn't want to buy another AR, but I also didn't want to buy a platform that I would have to reinvest in all of my accessories and like magazines and that kind of stuff. And I also didn't want to spend a crazy ton of money on it. So like, if you go out and look at like Scars and like, I guess like Scar is like the bougie, like Gucci level gun, where you have like ACRs, which is kind of like medium-ish, and like there's other platforms that you can get into that are pretty expensive. Like most of them are going to be like $2,000 plus, the Bren 805 and like, I don't know, I can't think of any other ones, but I'm sure there's a lot of platforms out there, or even piston ARs that are very expensive. And I didn't really want to get into another super expensive gun, but I wanted a different gun. I think the most attractive thing to me in terms of like something that would run an AR magazine as well as have a side folding stock, I think those were the biggest draw factors for me getting into a new platform. So ARs, obviously you can get the Law Tactical Folder. I kind of feel like that's not the best option because you have to shoot the gun with the stock open. You can't shoot it closed. So that was one of the things I wanted, was like, AKs and like G36s and Scars and like all these platforms out there, you can shoot the gun with the stock folded, which you may not necessarily do all the time, but being able to do so is just a nice plus. So it's just something that I wanted. Sue me. The other thing that I wanted was I wanted a piston-driven gun, and I guess that kind of lends itself to having a non-buffer system back here, so that you don't need anything to be operating back there. And so, having a piston system also usually comes with a adjustment for suppressed versus unsuppressed. So I think that's really nice. This one obviously has the two settings for suppression and unsuppressed. The other thing that I wanted something that you could adjust settings without using tools kind of on the go. So I'll give you an example. This gun is fully ambidextrous, and you can argue, you can get ambi lowers for ARs. A lot of the other platforms have ambi controls. This one truly has ambi controls. First of all, you have your safety. You've got obviously trigger. Your mag release is index finger right there, and the nice thing about that is that the safety and the mag release, they're in the same spot and same control style for this gun as it is on an AR. So there's no difference in the way that you operate the gun, which is awesome. The other aspect about it is you have an ambi bolt release. So your bolt release is this tab here, and you just slide it down, and basically that closes your bolt, and you can slide it up and rack the charging handle back to the rear. That locks it in place, and that is on both sides of the gun, which is really nice. The other thing is the charging handle. So you notice how the charging handle is on this side. It's not on this side right now, and the reason for that is you basically just hold it open at this one spot, pull it out, swivel it to the other side, pull it out, and now you've changed the charging handle to the other side. Now, this is a little bit of a disadvantage, quote unquote, because ARs can have ambi charging handles that are already set up to work on both sides. Yeah, that's fine, but for the most part, it's easy for me to reach over on this side to charge the handle. I can charge it on the other side, charge it this way. Like, I got two hands, so that's fine. But you can switch it over without actually having to disassemble the gun. Some charging handles on other platforms out there, you have to disassemble part of the gun in order to switch it to the other side. That's fine and dandy, but it is one of those things that I wanted it to be able to just do it on the fly. Granted, I've gotten used to having it on the right side of the gun, so it's probably not going to go back on the other side, but it's nice to know that if I needed to, I could do it without needing any tools, and I could do it in a matter of a minute. Not that I've timed myself or anything, but most people could probably do it in a couple minutes, so that's nice. The other thing about it is you have ambi ejection pattern, which is awesome. Not that you can't survive And especially because it's got the deflector on both sides, so you're not going to be eating brass even if you're a left-handed shooter. But the fact of the matter is, if you were handing the gun off to a left-handed shooter, you just take an AR bullet, which you should have at least one on you, push the button, push the bullet into this hole, and it pops the mechanism, or I don't really know the technical terms, but basically it makes it so that the ejection pattern will be coming out of the left side of the gun if you're a left-handed shooter, or outside of the right side of the gun if you're a right-handed shooter. That's awesome. I don't know any guns out there currently that you can change the ejection pattern from left to right side without having to basically like switch the bolt around or change the dust cover, or do all this crazy stuff to make it left or right side dedicated. This way, it's literally just one button. I think that's awesome. I think that a lot of companies should invest some time into thinking about this kind of stuff, just because it's convenient. And if Beretta can do it, everyone else can. So I don't really know what their excuse is. The other thing that really attracted me about this gun, which I'm not sure this is actually going to come in handy anytime soon, but if caliber changes come out for the gun later on down the road, or different barrel lengths or whatnot, the fact of the matter is it takes 0 tools to change out the barrel. All you got to do is pull down on these tabs, barrel comes right out, and then with the bolt locked open to the rear, stick the barrel back in, locks in place, drop the bolt, and you're ready to rock and roll. That's awesome. I don't know any companies that let you switch the barrel out without any tools. That's amazing. Literally, if you talk about field, like changing out of kits and stuff, that's it right there. I mean, the rest of the gun is pretty simple and easy to disassemble as well. And there are other guns that are easy to disassemble, but the fact of the matter is you don't have to take apart anything on the gun to remove the barrel. I think that is sweet. This guy is my SBR. It's 12 inches, so it's nice and compact, but still gives me pretty decent ballistics with a 12-inch barrel, so it's pretty accurate. And when I have the stock folded, and I also take the barrel out, if I wanted to put it in a backpack that's smaller than like 21 inches, I could do it with the barrel out. And you could just slam the barrel right in, drop the bolt, ready to rock and roll, open the stock. The stock is adjustable, but it's not as adjustable as most rifles would be at the full length position. It's really meant for plate carriers, or like, you know, if you got basically any kind of like gear on the front of your body. So when you actually close it up, it actually works pretty well with chest rigs. I usually, if I'm not running a plate carrier, I'll usually put it out at, I guess if closed is position 1, then this would be position 2, and that ends up working out pretty well. I can also shoot it fully closed. That's still very comfortable and very usable. But I think this platform is awesome. It is, however, not without its disadvantages. So the disadvantages, I would say, would be 1, you're very, very limited on what you can do with the gun. Nobody makes aftermarket stuff for it, or very few people do. So a lot of the accessories I have on here are generic. So for instance, I've got iron sights, red dot, and Surefire light, all just Picatinny attachments. So that's not specific to the gun. You can put it on pretty much anything that has quad rail. But you know, I have the aftermarket stuff that I've changed would be, actually this isn't even aftermarket, this rail adapter is made by Beretta, so like they just give you like this slanted cover piece that doesn't let you attach anything except for the grenade launcher, which you can't even get in the US, so I don't see the point in that. I don't know why they did it that way, but for 30 bucks you can buy this Picatinny adapter, so you put anything on the bottom. There is a company that makes an aftermarket trigger for this thing, and I've heard it's really awesome. I definitely plan on getting one, but it's a little bit more than I want to throw in the money right now, because the trigger is okay as it is, but I heard that it's a pretty big upgrade. So aside from that, I don't really know of many other accessories that you can get for this gun. I have an NT4 flash hider on here, so I can put my night suppressor on the front. But yeah, pretty much the gun is what it is. You have to like it for how it's set up, because there is pretty much no aftermarket support for this thing. The other thing is there's no good way to mount slings to it really from the get-go. So they have these little metal tabs, which are completely useless because you can't thread 1-inch slings through it. And it's too small and flat to actually accept QD or HK claw hooks. There's no adapters to make it QD. They're also positioned kind of in sort of weird places. And so realistically, you're not going to pretty much use any of the sling mounting options that are come on the gun already, aside from maybe the sling swivel on the front of the gun, which goes left and right. If I use a 2-point sling, I've got a QD adapter on the back here, and then I just have a claw hook on the front, and then I can also hook it to itself if I want to do single point, or I've got a single point sling on right now that's just QD right into it. I mean, not ideal. I've figured out some setups that work for me. Right now, from where it is, I can do transitions left to right, but it is one of those things where it can be kind of a hassle if you are trying to run the gun the way you would an AR. So it's just some kind of like a learning curve there. I guess otherwise, with disadvantages, you have a really weird cheek weld. Now, I've gone over this before. I like the high cheek welds, so this actually ends up being perfect for me. This is an aim-point micro on a LaRue lower 1/3 co-witness mount. And so at the height that it's at, it actually works really well because it's the same chin weld that I normally do on most of my ARs with risers. You can get, there's a guy who makes, I think he sells them on eBay, and he makes like a little Kydex piece that you can glue on the top, and it kind of gives it a look that sort of looks like an ACR. If you want to raise it up so that your cheek weld is standard, but keep in mind, if you're doing something like that, it's got to be like glued down to be more secure. Otherwise, you're going to have to get used to having a super high, I guess, chin weld, which I don't think is a bad thing. Once again, that's my preference. I like that. So it might just be one of those things that you have to decide if that's something you're going to run it that way or not. The other thing too is it accepts Gen 2 PMags as well as GI magazines. I don't think that it's able to accept Gen 3 PMags. I'm not sure why. I think there's something in the lower that prevents it from catching properly. I haven't tested this out myself, but that's what I read up on the gun. Right now I'm just running Gen 2 PMags as well as GI magazines, and it works fine for me. That's mostly what I got anyway. So that ends up working out well for me, but something to keep in mind if you are trying to get into this platform. I guess the other thing too is it's not very common, and so people don't know that much about it. So that could be a disadvantage or an advantage. Whenever I go to the range, people tend to ask me about it because they don't recognize it. So that's kind of cool, I guess, if you're the kind of person who likes to have different underdog, unique style stuff. This is very much like a fish boat gun, kind of like my FS2000, so that's kind of why I like it a lot. But it is one of those things where, some people like to have the coolest like SCAR or like the most popular guns because then everyone will love you automatically and give you free stuff. I don't know. But yeah, basically that's kind of, the disadvantages. I love this platform. I think it's awesome. For the weight, it's not bad comparatively to like an AR. Running, I think it's similar to like a 14-inch AR. I like the way it looks too. I think it looks super cool. It's got sort of that pseudo futuristic kind of look. We're thinking about maybe painting it gray or something like that just to give it a little bit of a different look. But yeah, it's relatively unique. The ambi controls are really what sold me on it. Okay, you know what? That's a lie. The real thing that sold me on it is the pseudo future look. Honestly, like that's the main reason why I picked this gun up. And it came with the side folding stock. So I think those are the two biggest reasons why I like the ARX and why this is one of my favorite guns to run. If you have any questions about this gun, let me know in the comments below. Here's a couple video clips of me shooting it and just kind of like having some fun with it at one of the local leagues. You can kind of check that out. It's basically, that was my first time running this gun in like basically a two-gun scenario where I'm moving from cover and shooting and that kind of stuff. The league is a little bit restrictive in that, you know, it's indoor and they got a lot of, the range that they run it at has a lot of rules and stuff that you have to follow, but it definitely let me kind of get an idea of what it's like to run it in those kind of scenarios, and hoping to continue to use it in that capacity. But so far I'm loving it a lot. I just kind of finished this project up pretty recently, so I wanted to share that with you guys. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.
Nice, like satisfying. Hold in. Yeah, I never seen that.